Welcome back to Cervantes Math and Adventures. This is just the math portion of it. Uh, Today we're going to be looking at this. This is an absolute value equation, right? And hopefully we recall that when we're working with an absolute value, right? We have an absolute value. This just means any number that comes out of here, any number that comes out is positive. Any number that comes out is positive. So that's what's going to give us two responses, right? This leads us to two answers that this can essentially be 2x minus 3 when this is the stuff that's inside the absolute value, right? Could be equal to the positive 3 value. And remember, anything that comes out is positive. To my second equation, it just ends up being two equations. 2x minus 3, again, the stuff inside the absolute value, could also be equal to a negative 3. Because if it's equal to a negative 3, what is the absolute value of a negative 3? If I take the absolute value of a negative 3, what does that essentially give me? The positive 3. The response that we have right here, see, a positive 3. So we set up my absolute value equal to the positive version and my absolute value equal to the negative version. And then we solve both equations. That's how easy this is. These are two-step equations. We just solve them. And it's going to be the exact same steps. We're going to work on this one on the left first, right? So to solve this one on the left, it's going to be what? Plus 3 to both sides. We get 2x equals 6. Final step, divide by 2. Right? The inverse of multiplying, divide by 2. X equals 3. That's one solution. Now we do the same thing over here. We do the exact same process right there. Opposite of negative 3, positive 3 to both sides. 2x equals 0. Divide both sides by 2. And we get x equals 0. Those are my two solutions. And note, that's what it says, right? If there is more than one answer, write them separated by commas. Example 1, comma 2. So let's write down my two solutions separated by a comma. So x is equal to 3, comma 0. Oh, in this case, I just want you, for this program, to write it as 3, comma 0. But that's our solution for that. Thank you. Like and subscribe. Have a good rest of the day. Welcome back to Cervantes Math and Adventures. Again, we're on the math portion of this. We have another absolute value. This one is a little different. Let's read the question. Let's make sure we get these questions read. Something we fail to do sometimes. To say that the absolute value of x minus 7 is less than or equal to 6 is the same as saying x is on the closed interval a comma b. This was that set notation we talked about, right? They're saying it's on this interval from a to b. So just as we've seen before, when we have an absolute value, anything inside that absolute value comes out as a positive. If it's a negative value, it comes out as a positive. If it's a positive value, it comes out as a positive. So in other words, we can make this equation into two, just like we've done before, right? This breaks up into two equations, right? Well, two inequalities in this case. Two inequalities. The first one's going to be where x minus 7 is less than or equal to the positive 6, right? We leave that alone. Right? That one stays exactly the way it is. We simply erase the absolute values. Now the second way is going to be a little different. Just like when we divide or multiply by a negative, that's kind of what happens. We're going to have x minus 7. We're going to change this to a negative 6. So since that changed, I have to flip my inequality. Right? We with that? Now we got two inequalities. They're both one-step inequalities. And we solve each inequalities independent of each other, right? we look at the first one on the left, right? We're gonna look at this one. X minus 7 is less than or equal to 6. The inverse of a minus 7 is plus 7, so I do that to both sides. Plus 7 to both sides. I hope that's what I said. We get x is less than or equal to 13. Same thing with the inequality on the right. We got x minus 7. X minus 7 is greater than or equal to negative 6. I add 7 to both sides. We get x is greater than or equal to a positive 1. This is where a number line comes into play, right? You know, I like to draw the number line. I feel it gives us a lot of great visuals. We've got two critical numbers. My critical numbers are going to be the solutions, right? A positive 1 and the positive 13. So positive 1, so obviously over here somewhere, right? And 13 would be more positive than that 1. And now we can see where my interval is, right? We have x is less than or equal to 13. So that's going to start here. Again, if you want to, I find it simpler when I do it below. Like, okay, it's going to be here at the 13. It's going to be a closed circle with it's equal to, and it's going to shade that way. My other inequality says x is greater than or equal to positive 1. So it's going to start at this positive 1, right? I'm going to get it right here. It's included, it's equal to, and it's going to shade that way. And obviously, when you see that, we can see where these two are going to overlap. They're going to overlap right here in this whole section. They're going to overlap on that interval. My interval is going to go from the positive 1 all the way to the positive 13. And they're included. So that's where the brackets come into play, like we saw before, right? When it's an included value, you use brackets. And that right there is our solution. Make sure to like and subscribe, guys. Hopefully this is getting easier for you. Thank you so much. Have yourselves a great day. Welcome back to Cervantes Math and Adventures. Here we have another inequality, right? Another absolute value inequality, right? Let's read this one out. To say that the absolute value of x minus 5 divided by 2 is less than or equal to 6 is the same as saying x is on the closed interval a, b. Again, we got this interval notation. We got our absolute value right here. And then we have my inequality. This breaks up just as before. Anything that comes out of the absolute value is positive. Any value. So in other words, the absolute value of all this can be less than or equal to 6 or the negative part. But when we do the negative part, the absolute value of all that, whatever's inside the absolute value, can be greater than or equal to the negative version. We flip it over, right? So we get that positive version. We erase the absolute values. We add that negative, right? Erase the absolute values, add the negative, and we get that. And these are going to be my two equations. We'll see that right here as I rewrite this over here, right? So first is the positive version. We get x minus 5 over 2 is less than or equal to 6. And, right, my second one, because they're both included, x minus 5 over 2 is greater than or equal to negative 6. We have two-step inequalities. We solve them. We use the exact same two steps, right? What is the inverse of dividing this whole quantity by 2? Well, the opposite of divide is multiply, right? Basic math steps that we continue to do. Multiply both sides by 2. These twos reduce each other out. I'm left with x minus 5 is less than or equal to 12. One step away, plus 5 to both sides. X is less than or equal to 17. There's my first critical value. Let's do the same thing to the other side, right? It's going to be the exact same two steps, right? See, multiply by 2 to both sides. These twos reduce. X minus 5 is greater than or equal to negative 12 plus 5 to both sides. And we get x is greater than or equal to negative 7. So these two numbers are my critical values. These are the two numbers I'm going to work on. I'm going to create my number line. Let's get my number line up right here. I'm going to have a negative 7, which is further this way. We'll put an open circle there for now. And a 17. I'm going to put an open circle for now again. Now let us see. X is greater than, oh, sorry. I read that backwards. X is less than or equal to 17. So I start at the 17. I'm going to start here. And it's going to be less than, right? It's going to shade this way. See, I kind of see a pattern already, right? Let's solve up this next one. Right. X is greater than or equal to negative 7. So it's going to, oh, it should be negative 7. I'll add that negative right now. There we go. So we're going to start at this negative 7. It's included, and then greater than is going to go right here. And we can see where they overlap, right? It's going to, you'll see this pattern a lot in mathematics as you continue to solve math problems. It's going to go from that interval. It's going to go from this negative 7 included all the way to this positive 17. So that's going to be my response again. They're going to be brackets because it's included, negative 7 to 17. Also in brackets because that is also included. Be sure to like and subscribe again. So